Hey there. To go into a little bit more depth, this is my daughter's puppy, by the way. I'm going to the barn, and every time we go to the barn, puppy gets to come. So this is Kada. She's about 6 months old, and she's adorable. Anyways, side note, that was. I wanted to go a little bit more into depth about living while following Christ. I don't have all the answers because I kind of stumble through figuring out how to live and continue to be myself, really. I mean, when you go through that big change, that big transformative change where who you were prior to being saved meshes with who you are now, you're very, very changed. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, you're in many ways still kind of living the same life. You know, I mean, for me, I was married, so I'm in a family, and that hasn't changed, and it won't change. I was a mom at the time of being saved, and that's not going to change because, I mean, once you're a mom, you're kind of a mom forever. So what does that look like? So with that said, I don't think we're called to be something that we're not. I think what we are called to do is read the word and learn it and learn how to apply it to your life. I've been reading Colossians 3 the last 2 days because I was reading through a prayer, and Colossians 3, 1 through 17 came up. And it was just interesting because Colossians isn't just 17 verses. It's got another paragraph on how Christians are to live. What is it? Guidelines for Christian households. And so you figure you can read and absorb the knowledge and learn that way. And as the days go on, you kind of adjust your choices to go alongside with what you're learning. And I know the old saying goes, when you know better, you do better. And that, I think, applies in this situation, because when we start learning God's ways, even if it's difficult, there's still a strength within you to do things God's way. It's not always going to be perfect by any stretch, but the wisdom that you read in Scripture is very clear, and it all goes back to kind of character traits. And again, those things aren't going to just change overnight. It's a process. So, you know, it goes without saying, but I truly believe that we put way too much pressure on ourselves to do it perfectly. And I think we're minimizing the fact that Christ does the work in us, and when he does it, it is perfect work, and it certainly makes you better off with those changes than you were prior to what you knew. So I think what we have to do is just learn God's ways and pray about it, and as you're convicted, confess the ways that you haven't been following, and just ask God for guidance. Ask him to help you obey his word, and, you know, ask him to help you to learn his word and learn how to apply it to your days. I've studied the word love extensively, and it kind of comes down to the fact that if we don't know how to be loved, I think it's hard to give love to others. And relationships definitely can benefit from everybody involved learning how to love, because say I'm in a family. I'll use my family as an example. It doesn't mean that it applies or is relative to my household. But say I'm the one person in my family that's learning how to love others. And I might be the only person in my family or my community that follows the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. But with me doing that, I know that I'm at peace, knowing that I'm living my life the best way I know how. And it can get discouraging sometimes when people either aren't on board or you actually feel like maybe they're working against you. But I can assure you that God sees those things that you're doing and those efforts that you're putting in. And He sees you trying to learn His ways, and He's going to bless that effort. And it doesn't always look the way we think it should look, but we can just trust that, as I heard in church today, we can trust that God is in control of His world. He created this world. He created everything in it, and He's got it under control. And so is the whole world going to crumble if we're doing something wrong unintentionally? But is that a reason then not to try and learn the right way? It's not an excuse to live wrong, but I think that there is, for lack of a better word, there's grace for those mistakes. And God is bigger than our mistakes. So ultimately, we can try to do things in what we believe is the best way. And we can then also try to do things as we learn what God's best way is. And the line that I read in a commentary was humility and faithfulness and gentleness and love. If we're growing in humility and gentleness and faithfulness, we're then by default going to start treating people better. And then you've got the ball rolling and things start looking different and noticeably better. And again, it's a process, so it takes some time. But just don't find yourself discouraged if you're trying to be something you're not, because ultimately that ends up being kind of a shallow change. It's not really a real change if you're trying really hard to make changes. It's kind of like starting a diet. I know there are people out there who are successful in diets, but that's definitely not me. I'm not successful with diets, but it's because I'm trying to change it on my own strength, and that's not the way to do it. It's much better to ask God to help you and read His Word, and then you might have a fighting chance. But anyways, those are some thoughts for today. I'm getting close to the barn, and I'm actually running out of air. It's like my chest is still sitting there with stuff in it. And tomorrow is going to be 3 weeks since I started with this flu, and I feel better overall, but I still can't laugh without coughing, and I just miss laughing. But I still try. It just doesn't sound very nice. Anyways, I'm going to go before I start coughing again. Have a great day.